So when we started talking about fear, we saw that we have to understand emotions overall, right? Fear comes under the category of emotions. And so we have to see emotions as a category and then go specifically into the emotion of fear. And so the first thing we know about emotions is they're very much a part of who we are. And in fact, we don't want to take it away, because when we meet people on the spectrum who possibly can't feel different types of emotions, we feel we haven't had the complete experience of a relationship and it lacks a certain amount of connect. And so when we feel connected to someone, it's based on emotions. Yeah. And so firstly, to never deny emotions. They hold a place in who we are, and they hold an important place because unless we feel, we don't change and we don't act. And so even if I hear stories, so I was preparing for that talk. I did a talk for Women's Day, which some of you would have heard, on periods, women getting periods and how that affects our spiritual practices and how we can embrace more equality in the way we have interactions. And so, of course, I had heard here, there, little bits and pieces about it, but when I had to give the talk, I researched. And there's actually so much on things like TED Talk on this topic. And one of the talks I heard was of a lady who had gone into Africa and seen the conditions of women in Africa who had no access to sanitary napkins, and how girls wouldn't go to school. Not like, I know even in Hong Kong, there's girls who don't go to school for 4 to 5 days every month because they don't have access. But they had to stop going to school. So they would go to school up until the age of 10, 11, 12. And the minute they started their menstrual cycle, they would stop going to school. Now, this is true even for parts of India, huh? And so obviously then this was going to cause such an incredible inequality in the community. So she saw this and she saw how they were treated and she saw what a woman had to go through during those 4 to 5 days when they were on her cycle. And because she felt for them, there's now so much work being done in Africa. And we give food, and of course we think to give food to a person. Right? It's so much ingrained in our Indian culture also to give food to a person, but never mind Indian culture, anyone. We will think, oh, this person's hungry, give them food. Who's going to give a pad to someone? Who's going to think that? But when we feel, we'll think it. Not only will we think it, we'll talk about it, and then other people feel, and they too will do something. So feelings reach a very deep part of us. And very often, that's what will bring about change. And living the life I live, the number of people I have met who are going through some kind of difficult situation or has lost a loved one. And because of that pain, they start seeking. If we don't feel, we don't have the full human experience, and we won't be inspired or moved to be different to what we are and to make the world different to what it is. So first and foremost, we don't deny emotions. And this applies to all emotions. And right now we're talking about fear. And a lot of people do push fear away. Not so much with anger. There are people who push anger away, but not as often do you feel or hear or meet people pushing anger away. Anger gets front stage. But we push sadness away. We push fear away. We definitely push jealousy away, because jealousy is not a socially accepted emotion. If you're sad, everybody in society will nod and sympathetically look at you. If you're jealous, nobody sympathetically looks at you. So it gets pushed away. And if we're scared, well, there's very different reactions from society. Some people will look at us with this knowing, I feel you. Some people will be brave. Like, what's this nonsense? Don't entertain this fear. And so we're not quite sure the kind of reaction we're going to get to fear. But we ourselves don't want to very often have to deal with it. And so the question is, when the actual physiological reactions are happening in my body, how to deal? So the first thing is feel it. There's absolutely no need to push it away. Just feel it. And the second thing, sometimes in therapy, they say label it. And if you label it, it helps to deal with it. Sometimes you're feeling things and you won't know what you're feeling. You won't know what to label it. That also happens. So just feel whatever it is you're feeling. And then remember, it's exactly what we have understood emotions to be. Waves. Yeah. It'll come. It will go. So somebody was here this week and they've lost someone dear to them. And she was chatting quite regular, normal chatting. I got to do this, have to do this, have to. And then I said, we were saying goodbye. And then suddenly she stopped and she's like, but pray for me. And the person, the object of her love. And of course I nodded. And she said, I won't feel sad. And then suddenly I'll feel sad. And that's not just sad. That's every emotion. It comes, it goes. Even in bhakti, bhakti is the path of devotion. When we are trying to feel immense love for the Lord, and we want to be like Radha, pining for Krishna. And we'll hear the Bhagavatam stories about how Prahlad was absorbed in the thought of Lord Vishnu, and we want to feel so much, and we're not feeling anything. It's like, but why? I can be Radha. I want to love Krishna so much. And we're not feeling, zero. because you can't command an emotion. And there'll be times when I do feel, I'm like, rather take a back seat. Like my pining so strong. And then it disappears. And we'll think, where did it go? I had so much love like 2 seconds ago and it's gone. Where? Where did it go? And it will go. And so even in bhakti, it's described as dry spells, droughts. Emotions cannot be sustained. Just the way they are. Because our body is not built to be able to sustain them. But also our mind is not built to be able to sustain them. So when we're feeling it, if we push it away, it stays. Anything we try to push away, it stays. So the natural course of an emotion is that it will be slow and it will build up, and then it's so heightened and then it falls. We can think about it in terms of when you're scared or even when you're angry. And with anger, you can actually feel the buildup in the body. There's that moment of where you're so blind, everything is just, I mean, you're so angry, everything's just blind. You can't see anything even. Like even physically, you can't see anything. And then you're thinking, why did I get so angry? And all of that can happen within a span of minutes. So while it's building up and I start to feel it, if I push it away, it doesn't live out the course of its life, which would be a few minutes, maybe a few hours. But now it's like I pressed pause, and so it's there. And it's there. And it's there. And because it's not meant to be there, it causes harm. So I lived in Australia for many years, and Australia probably has one of the most crazy immigration customs policies you've ever experienced. Like every other country, like if you live in Hong Kong, there's no customs, you just walk through. You could be carrying anything, everything, you just walk through. If you go to Australia, they will search your bag. They will check your shoes. They will, because even sand from another country should not come into Australia. And you know, when we just moved to Australia, this is all of us at the customs thinking, you know, weirdo, what's so precious about your country? But then, of course, you become Australian, become proud of being Australian. Why do they do that? Because so many things had come in and the ecosystem gets totally ruined, like completely ruined, because it is a different ecosystem. There's a lot of desert. There's a lot of things that are not there from tropical countries. And so suddenly you bring in something, even a plant, and the birds all start getting sick and they all start dying and they all start, and then the things that were eating those birds start getting sick. And so they've experienced all these horrible effects on the ecosystem. And so one of the lines is, it's not supposed to be here. It's great in its country, but when it comes here, it causes harm. Anything that's not supposed to be there in nature will cause harm. even in our body, new bacteria. The body doesn't know what to do with it. We get sick. So when an emotion comes, the body knows how to cope. When an emotion's paused and the emotion stays, the body doesn't know how to cope. It will get sick. More than that, the mind is also built for the emotion to come and the emotion to go. And so when the emotion stays in the mind longer than what's it usually would have, again, the mind gets sick. What does that mean? What does a sick mind mean? We don't have to go into psychology. This is just everyday people, because so many of us do it. So many of us pause an emotion. We don't completely process grief. We don't completely process jealousy, anger, hurt, whichever emotion. Sometimes we don't even completely process desire. It becomes a constant restlessness. So I'm not sure how to explain this. Okay, let's use water. Water is a really nice example. So a drop falls into water, ripple, 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 and then it fades away. And then it goes back to being still. An emotion happens in the mind. There'll be ripple, 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 and then it fades away, and mind goes back to still. Now we know from the scriptures, a still mind is a healthy mind. A still mind is a dynamic mind. A still mind is a divine mind. When we don't allow the emotion to go away because we don't want to deal with it, we don't know how to deal with it, or we don't know, it's too painful to look at this emotion. What happens is ripple, 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 and it can't stop because I didn't give it an out. And so it continues. Ripple, 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 ripple. And how long will it continue? Sometimes our whole life. Which means what? The mind doesn't get to experience still. And I'm going to repeat. Still mind is healthy mind. Still mind is strong mind. Still mind is divine mind. So when emotion's gone, and it will go, mind returns to still, and I return to be what I'm meant to be. So each one of us has a personality, our swabhav, and we meant to be that. That's the flavor we add to the community. And each one of us adds, right? It's like a Indian dal. You don't just put one spice in there. We put so many, and each flavor adds to the richness and the tastiness of the dal. And so in this community also, each one of us have our unique flavor that we bring in. So when my mind is still, I'll be that. I'll be my natural self. When my mind is not still, I can't be that because I have this nagging, even though I'm not conscious of it, there's this nagging, whatever the emotion is. There's this nagging anger. There's this nagging sadness. There's this nagging jealousy. There's this nagging fear. Yeah. That's not allowing me to completely be in this moment or completely be myself. And so I'll always, and so it comes out usually as comments. And even I'll think, why did I say that? Even the person saying it won't know why they're saying it. Other people will also think, huh? Like, where did that come from? And where did it come from? It came from this unprocessed emotion. And then they add up because there's so many that we don't process, right? It's not like there's one emotion that we've not processed. They all add up. And so sometimes we really don't know where it came from. And then this personality that we have, the swadharma that we have, is meant to be our tool or our avenue through which we practice our divinity to reach, through which we practice our spirituality to reach our divinity. Okay, so all of us are here in this samsara, and this samsara has gain and loss, and praise and insult, and success and failure. And it has plenty of sorrow. And this experience is this lifetime. We came into this lifetime to have this experience so that we could go back to being divine. There was some baggage that we still carrying, which we needed to offload so that we can go back to being divine. Otherwise, we wouldn't be born. Right? If we had already remembered our divine nature, we wouldn't take birth. We would have happily remained divine. But somewhere along the line, we forgot, or we got distracted, or we desired to be something other than what we were, and then we collected some baggage. And so we came into this life to offload it. And how do we offload that baggage that we've collected? By being this person, our swabhav. Because when we, this person, which is our swabhav, we will serve the society. Doesn't matter what our swabhav is. Sometimes the swabhav will be, like there's one person I know who has this incredible sense of humor, and she has so many people following her on Instagram and Facebook just because they laugh. When they read her post, they laugh. And so even people she's met once will follow her, and they've met her once and they've met all their friends every day, but they won't look at the friend's post. They'll look at this person's post because this person's post will make them laugh. All of us want to laugh. And so her being who she is makes people laugh. It's a great add value to people's lives. It's her gift. And then there's other people like Mary Kondo who really likes to clean, like really likes to clean. And that's definitely her swabhav. And look how many people she's helped. I mean, who would think loving cleaning helps anyone? But she has. Like, so many she has helped. And what did she do? Cleaned and rolled t-shirts up so that they're very creased afterwards and you have to iron them extra. Like, I'm not getting this. Like, I really don't like this style of t-shirts. Like, let's hang them so we never have to ever iron. But there's so many people who love her way of folding or her way of classifying or her way of cleaning. And maybe even they don't love her way of cleaning, but because she became so famous and they thought, oh, really? Cleaning's important? They started cleaning. She, living her Swadharma, brought such incredible value. Oh, it's not an incredible thing that she's doing. She's not a quantum physicist. She didn't land on Mars. She didn't need to. She still has touched so many lives. Okay, now not all of us are going to be Marie Kondos and, you know, all these other very famous people. But within our circle, when we are true to who we are, we enhance their lives, regardless of what job we are doing. I remember when COVID first hit, and the only people you would see out were the cleaners. And then suddenly there was this incredible respect and appreciation for cleaners. Now, what's their job? To sweep the street. And it keeps us safe. It's, you know, very often when we talk about Swadharma and Swabhav, we think of it too romantically. You can't just be a good cook. You have to be Michelin star. Can't just be a nice singer humming along through the day and your friends enjoy the tune. You have to become whoever, Whitney Houston caliber. Because obviously I don't know any current pop stars. It doesn't have to be anything so romantic. But when we are who we're meant to be, we will live a life that is so full and fulfilling, not just for us, but for those around us. So emotions. Emotions are not meant to be paused because they rob us of who we're meant to be and what we're meant to accomplish if we pause them. So when I'm feeling and it doesn't feel good, fear doesn't feel good. It invokes flight or fight. But I don't have to flight or fight very often in today's world. I just have to breathe and get through that embarrassing moment, or get through that maybe slight rejection or slight criticism, or maybe major rejection or major criticism. And some of the kids are leaving for university today. Not today. These 2 weeks, lots of the kids are leaving off to university. One of them came very teary to the ashram. I don't know why I'm crying so much. It's normal, right? People go to university. Like, yeah, it's also normal that they cry when they're going to university. No, nobody else cried. I'm the only one crying. Obviously not. But we tend to feel we're the only, I don't know why we feel there's a spotlight on us and the whole world can see what we're feeling. There's no spotlight. Everybody's actually too busy feeling what they're feeling to even notice what you're feeling. But perchance they notice what you're feeling. Is it that bad? It's that bad. Is it really that bad? Even if you're thinking, yes, it's that bad, nobody should notice what I'm feeling. Remember Swadharma and Swabhava, when we are who we are, it's a service to everybody else. Sometimes this is the service. I'm an emotional person and I'm feeling. And people see me feeling, and suddenly it's okay for them to also feel because I'm feeling. So I don't, even in me just feeling it could be a add value to other people's lives. So feel it. Completely feel fear. And if we do, fear, anger, jealousy, regret, guilt, excitement, what are other emotions? I think I've covered the big ones. Sadness, very big one. If we allow ourselves to feel it, we will also experience that it goes. We'll also become familiar with what it feels like. So next time we feel it, it's familiar. Then the feeling doesn't have as much hold on us. It will still impact us, right? Because that's who we are. Emotions are meant to make us feel, and they're meant to move us, and they're meant to invoke a reaction in us. But when we become familiar with them, there isn't the need to push it away. Yeah. Also, there's the memory that last time I felt it, it did go away. Yeah. And so I become more comfortable with feeling it. And then, as I had mentioned in a previous class, while feeling it, I have to recognize this is emotion and then move into intellectual thinking. So emotion will trigger emotional thinking. And emotional thinking will heighten the emotion. So anger is a good one and fear is a good one to understand this. When fear is rising in me, and I'm sure you all would have experienced this as well, at one point I can catch it. There's a point to which I can catch. I'm really angry. So walk away. Before you say anything or before you do anything, walk away. So go into your room, close the door. Is anger gone? No. But you ride the wave out without hurting the other person. I'm sure you've been able to do this. Maybe not every time, probably very few times, but I'm sure you've done it at least once. Did the anger go away? Eventually. Did you feel the full thrust of it? Yes. Fear too. I'm sure you've experienced it. You can feel your heart starting to get faster. You can feel the sinking feeling in the stomach, but you have to still do whatever it is. Yeah, maybe give that speech or finish that interview or meet that person. Yeah. I'm sure you've felt the full thing of the fear and you still did whatever it is you've had to do. The fear didn't go away. So Emotional thinking can be paused. The emotion should not be paused. This is a very clear distinction. The emotion need not be paused. But to let that emotion control the thinking can be stopped. And I move into logical thinking. That's what I do when I walk away, when I'm angry. Yeah. And I punch the pillow, not the person. Logical thinking, but the anger's still there. If I have to finish the interview, logical thinking to answer the question as best as I can, even though the sensations of fear are being felt in my body. Practice makes us be able to do this. And actually, you've already done it. Everyone's already done it. Because we've all had to do things that are scary. How did we cope? Sometimes it's because we feel we had no choice. But that's not true. We always have choice. Yeah. So how did I cope? We go into intellectual thinking. We just talk ourselves through. Okay, now do this, now do this, now say this. Yeah. Don't give your hand to shake because you are sweating. We think it through, right? We're using intellect. Okay, so to understand the difference between emotional thinking and intellectual thinking, we start when there's no emotion. And so Gurudev has taught us this beautiful technique called introspection. So I go through my day. And so this morning I met so-and-so and they said this to me and it really hurt. Yeah. And I felt so let down. And then I said, da, 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 and walked off. So now it is at night and I am thinking back through my day and I think, okay, when they said that to me, what are other things I could have said which was not an emotional response? I make note of it. Then I also note, why did it affect me so much? And I'll make note of why it affected me so much. And so I understood myself better and I understood what other things I can do. Next time a similar incident happens and somebody says something to me, I actually have 3 things I could say already planned out in my head. The first time it happened, I didn't have another choice. It was only emotional thinking that was available to me. Intellectual thinking wasn't available to me, but now I have it. Depending on how strong the emotion is, I'll be able to access it or not. Chances are I might have thought it out very beautifully when I was calm, but now that the emotion is there, complete blank, I don't remember what it was, and I continue to have an emotional experience. Uh-oh. Next day we introspect. What could I have said? Will this actually help? Yes. Why? Because one day we'll get tired of responding emotionally. And on that day, when I'm tired of responding emotionally, I'll think, oh, I can say this. How long will that take? I have no idea. Each one of us are different. But there's this beautiful article written by some brilliant person called A Story in 5 Verses. Have I told it to you all before? No, I'll tell it to you. But what was your question?
Shame, yes.
Shame.
Yeah. We feel ashamed when we keep responding emotionally.
But shame is also an emotion.
And it's so hard to feel shame.
You have to feel shame. Or vulnerable, as Brene Brown keeps talking about. Everything's hard to feel. Absolutely everything is hard to feel. There are people who struggle to feel anger. Like some people are so good at anger, and there are other people who actually struggle to be able to feel angry. Every single emotion will have its own single. But the point, it's not to go through emotion by emotion by emotion. It's to understand all of them are who we are. It's not like we have to master each one. We have to just understand emotion, part of the human experience, including shame. Who hasn't felt shame? We felt it in kindergarten itself. You know, we have Shishivihar in the ashram. Very often adults will look at a kid and will laugh because it's cute. And the kid gets angry because they don't understand we think it's cute. They think we're laughing at them. They feel shame. At 2, at 3, who hasn't felt shame? Part of the human experience. And this is where we have to condition ourselves. The conditioning has to be, well, this emotion's great. It's part of the human experience. But I don't have to think emotionally. Please, that's a very important difference. Thinking emotionally isn't so beneficial. Having the emotion, very beneficial. And I've done emotional thinking and intellectual thinking in another class, but we can revisit it. I was going to say story in 5 paras. You know it? Okay, I think I remember it. It's been a while since I've been a psychologist. I was walking down the street. I see a pothole and I fall into it. Chapter 1. I'm walking down the same street. I know there's a pothole and I fall into it. Chapter 2. I'm walking down the same street. I know there's a pothole. I tell myself I should not fall into it, and I fall into it. Chapter 4. I'm walking down the street. I know there's a pothole. I tell myself not to fall into the pothole, and I stop just in time. Yay! You're not celebrating. Chapter 5 is very important. I walk down a different street. Isn't this brilliant? Which chapter are you on? Most of us are on chapter 2. What was chapter 2? I'm walking down the street. I know there's a pothole and bang, off I go. Head first usually. Come out with lots of bruises. So much heartache. Is the pothole emotions? It's how I react to the emotion. It's not the emotion. It's how I react to the emotion. I can't emphasize enough. Emotions are beautiful. If you think of your favorite book, why? Made you feel something, right? Think of your favorite movie. Why? Made you feel something. Think of your favorite person, like celebrity kind of person. Hopefully they make you feel something. Martin Luther King is one of my heroes. I know he learned from Mahatma Gandhi, and I know I'm Indian and it should be Mahatma Gandhi, but actually it's Martin Luther King. Because when he does that speech, I had a dream. How can you not feel? So many of you may not know the story. Many of you may know the story. Of course, there was slavery in America at this point. Martin Luther King was trying to create a world where Black and white people could stand by each other, next to each other, ride the bus together, go to a restaurant together. Who would think that was an improbability at a given point in time? But it was. For some people, it was a dream. Just the way he spoke. Like we're so blessed with technology, we have that recording, and it gives you goosebumps when you hear it because he speaks with so much feeling. Like he has so much hope. He has so much belief in the goodness of human beings. And it's like, if he didn't feel as deeply as he felt, maybe there'd still be slavery. We needed enough people to feel it. So feelings are beautiful things. In fact, in our scriptures, bhakti is a very powerful way of reaching divinity. And bhakti is so incredibly purifying. You can attend classes for 10 years and be one intellectual nerd. But one heartfelt kirtan can move you to tears that really you pining for the Lord, and it can wash away lifetimes of sin. Tears shed in devotion wash away sin. Real tears, huh? When we really feel that much love that it moves us to tears. Emotions are incredibly powerful. And we can't choose, I'll feel this one and this one and this one, but I won't feel this one, and we can't do that. We have to feel them all. And understanding the emotion, understanding the purpose it serves, and understanding how to get through it is very important too. And we live in an era where you can Google and there's so much information available. Like no one can say, but I don't know how. And the beautiful thing is, so you might say, well, Google doesn't have, I mean, how can I trust just anyone I hear on Google? Like, shouldn't that person be someone who's credible? So this is the beautiful thing about our journey. If I start looking for answers, I might have reached the wrong place and the answer's not there, but I'm looking and I made the effort to go there. The entire universe will conspire to get me to the right place. In Bhakti, it says the Lord himself will send Guru. And if you hear any spiritual seeker's journey, this is what you'll hear. I didn't know where to go. Some friend just took me to, and then I went, and then I heard, and now here I am. I started off, the family used to do pujas. It used to be so boring. That was Gurudev's story. I rebelled, I ran away, refused to believe in God. But then this happened, and then I remembered the family used to say this, my grandmother used to say this. I opened the Gita, and here I am. We just have to start looking. We just have to start putting in the effort. And the minute my sincerity in wanting to change is seen and evident, what I need will come to me. Won't what I need come to me anyways? No. We have to be sincere in our seeking. Then what I need will come to me. As Swamiji tells the story, Swami Swarupanandaji, that the Bhagavad Gita was on the shelf in his father's office for years and years together. One day when he was looking for answers, he noticed it on the shelf. It was there the whole time? Yes. But it was his seeking that brought him to be able to see it there. Now, I started attending Swamiji's classes. Actually, I attended Mataji's classes in Melbourne. There was this lovely, lovely lady who used to teach the Bhagavad Gita. I used to go to her classes before Swamiji even got posted to Melbourne. And we had done already all 18 chapters. Well, I didn't attend all 18. I don't know, I joined somewhere in the middle, but she had finished the 18 chapters and we had done the celebration of the 18 chapters. And then we were going to start again, which was great because I hadn't done the beginning bit. And around that time, it was Diwali, and Diwali, you should clean. So off we went to clean. And I was cleaning my dad's bookcase. And what did I find? Swami Chinmayananda's Bhagavad Gita. It was there. Of course, I wouldn't have understood a word of it if I had read it. So it made no difference that it was there. It was there the whole time. Did I find it? No. Did he give me answers? No. I had to get taken to a class where I heard it, where it made sense, where it was a very elegant, learned woman who was speaking in this beautiful, profound English. And I thought, yes. One, for women power, and two, she's so clever. Maybe I wouldn't have heard if it wasn't an elegant, powerful woman. We reach where we need to. But our seeking has to be sincere. And so start. Doesn't matter where you start. Doesn't matter with who you start. Just start. The rest, he will do. Starting, you have to do. We'll pause here today. Any questions?
Can I ask
Yes.
in a similar reaction, if for example you want to teach someone how, especially for kids, how to deal with somebody being very mean to you, in a similar, I think it's like an emotional response versus a more intellectual way, but for a child,
Could you all hear her? How to teach a child how to deal with emotions when somebody is being mean to you. Well, it will really depend on the age of the child also, depending on how much cognitive skill the child has. But I think the most important lesson we teach our children is that it's okay to feel. So if you feel sad, that's fine. You feel hurt, that's fine. And then practical solutions to physically do things, maybe sit them down and talk to them. Or, I mean, depending on the child's age, they may not understand that they contribute to the way people treat them. So that's why I said it really depends how old they are. If they're too young, that's not a nice thing to say to them, because then they'll translate it as you deserve it, which is not what we're saying. What we're saying is that very often the way we act invokes a certain kind of reaction. And so to see how we are acting and to be aware of when these reactions come to us, what we were feeling and thinking in that moment. Because of course, when we are scared, people react in a certain way to us. When we are confident, people react in a certain way to us. But that's much older children, and probably not to say it when something is actually happening in that moment, right? So because children, they can't distinguish between logical thinking and emotional thinking. Adults can't differentiate between logical thinking and emotional thinking, so all the harder for children. And so usually when something happens in a child's life, it's not a good time to teach them. This is true even for us, but all the more for children. Because they don't know how to remove that emotion. And so anything you say is going to be seen through that emotion. So you wait till the emotion fades away. You wait till the situation is a little bit distant, and then intellectually explain to them all the different facets of what goes on in action and reaction and in who we are and how people respond to us and things like that. But when a child is having to face an insult or something, to let them know that it's okay to feel hurt, and this is just part of what we all go through. Like it's not that, don't worry, it won't happen again. It happens. From time to time, it rains. And from time to time, people don't like you. And from time to time, we fail. And from time to time, we muck up. And it's fine. Whichever one it is, it's fine. And yes, it feels really horrible when somebody doesn't like us. But actually, it's fine. And I think, children learn from us. And if they see us being okay with it, they're okay with it. And when they see us react so terribly to it, they also react. Yeah. And so I think the best way to teach our children is for us to be mature in the way we deal with our emotions. I know for me personally, my go-to way my grandmother dealt with things. I want to be like her. So wise. Yeah. And they're role models, right? Because even if you spiel out a whole lot of stuff to them, they're just watching you and the way you reacting and what you feeling. Yeah. The best thing we can do to our kids is be the best we can be. And of course, we all make mistakes. It's okay. Sometimes when kids see us make mistakes and then see us fix it, that's a beautiful lesson for them to learn as well. They learn that you can fix it. It doesn't have to stay bad. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet, asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.